Joining me now is Don Brown. Don, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Brandon. Happy New Year to you, Melissa. And I was just on the phone with Karen a little bit earlier, and she gives her love and says hello. And we thank you for the great work that you've done in so many areas, including the extortion investigation that you mentioned a little bit earlier. So it's good to be with you again, my
Well,
friend.
thank you, and happy New Year to you and your family. And please greet the Vaughn's for me. I need to catch up with them again. Well,
For sure.
for those who don't know about you, tell me about your military background.
I was U.S. Navy JAG officer, 5 active, 11 reserves, 16 altogether. And when I got out, I got involved in some issues involving rules of engagement, especially during the Afghan war when Obama set rules of engagement basically that favor the Taliban over American lives. And of course, the extortion shoot down is one of the things I got involved with the Vaughns. And a movie has been made about a book I wrote, and it's called Fallen Angel Extortion 17. And afterwards, became involved in fighting Biden and some of his mandates. He brought a major federal lawsuit in federal court in South Carolina against the Savannah River nuclear facility on behalf of about 100 plaintiffs that I represent, including nuclear engineers, battling against Biden's vaccination mandate. We took that all the way to the Fourth Circuit before Biden finally backed down. So I've been involved in the fight, just trying to protect the United States Constitution, protect the American way of life, protect the great vision that our founders had on a Judeo-Christian platform, which the Constitution requires for it to really work, as John Adams said. So that's about me, and that's about it. So, but I'm just glad to be back with you tonight.
Well, and where can people get a hold of your book that you wrote on Extortion 17?
Well, you can go to you can find me on Amazon or my website, donbrownbooks.com. You can go to salemnow.com and also see the docudrama movie that's based upon the book. It's about an hour and a half. It's Triple Horse Studios did an outstanding job. There's a lot more still out there, and Billy and I are continuing to push for further evidence of the truth on what happened to these guys. 30 Americans, 17 members of SEAL Team 6 shot down, the most deadly disaster in the history of U.S. Navy SEALs, and it appears to have been done under suspicious circumstances. It appears the guys were sacrificed. We're going to get to the bottom sooner or later. The truth will come out, and great patriots like you who have a microphone, Brand, are going to help us get there.
Well, let's pray that's the case. It sounds like you were involved in dealing with some of the shot mandates and that kind of thing, correct?
Yes, that's correct. I was involved in federal litigation, as I mentioned earlier, against Savannah River Nuclear Solutions. That's the big Savannah River nuclear plant we've heard about. They have a big contract with DOE. DOE had told Savannah River, hey, if you don't force your employees to take the jab, we're going to withdraw and cancel our federal contracts. So I had about 100 plaintiffs, including many nuclear engineers, come forward, and we sued them. We actually sued them in federal court in Columbia, South Carolina. Our initial trial judge was Michelle Childs, who was one of 3 of the finalists that Biden presented, or the Biden considered for the Supreme Court. He wanted 3 women of color,
Wow.
and Judge Childs was one. And she ruled against us. We took her to the Fourth Circuit, and finally the administration backed down. She is now on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. So it was quite a battle, and also have represented a number of individual Americans before the EEOC who objected to the jab based upon religious reasons, and have had some success in those battles as well. We have to keep fighting the good fight.
Are you aware that I interviewed Ivan Raiklin, Brad Miller, I can't remember the other gentleman's name off the top of my head. Rob was his name, last night about this. Have you seen this? This is militaryaccountability.com. Have you seen that yet today, sir?
Yes, I have seen it, and I was with General Jerry Boykin just on New Year's Eve, and he's supporting this effort as well. I support these guys, all 200 and some, who have signed their names in protest of these illegal and foolish mandates for vaccinations against the U.S. military, which in my mind, endangering the national security is one of the most foolish things that Biden has done in this age of woke warfare against our military. But I support those guys 120%. Would love to have some direct contact with them. But General Jerry Boykin,
I will when I get off the air tonight, I will text you Ivan Raiklin, who is heavily involved, and that's who booked up all my guests for me last night. We produce his show as well. Ivan Raiklin, retired or former Green Beret. He's also a constitutional attorney. I will text you his number and info. I'll put you in a group text because he can get you looped into all this. I wanted to lay all that out so people would get an idea of the worldview and values and commitment and service and patriotism of Don Brown. With that being said, sir, what's the big announcement coming out of your state and your office tonight?
Well, I've declared for Congress for the 8th District of North Carolina. There are 5 other candidates. And in North Carolina, the primary is March 5th. So we're coming up on it in about 62 days now. But my platform is the Constitution first. We are a Judeo-Christian constitutional republic, Constitution first. And we've lost a lot of who we are as a nation because we have abandoned the Constitution. Congress as an institution has largely abandoned its constitutional responsibilities by creating all these 3-letter agencies, the administrative deep state, which make the law. You know, Forbes did a study just a few years ago that for every law passed by the Congress, that 19 regulations are passed by administrative deep state agencies. And that is unconstitutional. The executive branch, unelected bureaucrats are not supposed to be making our laws. And Brandon, most people don't know that. We have got to take a meat cleaver to the deep state. We've got to get our national debt situation under control. 33, trillion. It's unbelievable. And that's $100,000 for every man, woman, and child. And there's no plan in place to cut it. If we don't get it under control, we're going to lose the dollar as the national currency of exchange. And we're going to be in financial change, not just with our children and grandchildren. We ourselves will find ourselves in a position of financial change early on. So we got to go to Washington. We got to fight that. I have called for the death penalty for fentanyl traffickers. I've called for the death penalty for these worthless child sex traffickers, federal death penalty in both cases. As far as I know, I'm the only congressional candidate in the country who stepped out with these proposals. I'm pretty sure I'm the only congressional candidate, certainly in the 8th district at this point. So we got to really get tough and show that we are serious. The Constitution sets forth the Congress of the United States as being the principal branch of government. Congress can cut the money today. Congress can cut the money to Jack Smith today, to the Justice Department with these political prosecutions, if Congress has the will to do it. Yet we've continued to operate on one continuing resolution after another. It must come to an end. And I will stand on the floor of Congress and argue vociferously for the Constitution and against this outrageous binge of spendaholic practices that have been, both parties have been guilty of. There's a big difference between the Republican and Democrat Party on many issues. When it comes to spending and running the debt up, both are almost equally guilty. We've got to come to that conclusion. We've got to come to that realization. We've got to fight it and fight it with all our might.
Indeed. While you were talking, I just pulled up your website, by the way. Don Brown for Congress. It's actually Don Brown, or actually it's just Brown for NC.com. Brown for NC.com. Now, you have a guy running for governor who we have had on the program, or at least one of our programs. It was the program being hosted by Karen and Billy Vaughn, and I produced it. And now he's running for governor. He's your lieutenant governor. He's running for governor in your state. So is there a pretty strong coalition here between you guys, being that the mutual friend seems to be the Vaughns?
Well, I think that I think Mark's got a good shot at getting elected here. He's been very bold in the way he's spoken up. And so I think there's a really good shot here. You've got a couple of candidates. So Mark's one of those guys kind of like me that just, spoken the truth, and in his case is taken off. And so I think he's got a really, really good shot at this point. He's done a good job in grassroots fundraising and continuing to speak against woke especially. And we do have to wage war against woke. And, we go back to what you originally discussed was the issue with the military. The woke in the military, DEI in the military is killing our military. We've not been able to make our basic recruiting goals. The Army and the Navy have missed our recruiting goals now for 2 years in a row. If you think about it, the Navy has putting out recruiting commercials with some dude wearing a woman's dress. How the heck are we supposed to be able to fight wars when we put DEI and woke ahead of everything else? And I think Mark understands that. I certainly understand that. I'm going to continue to push that in the campaign. And also, if blessed to be elected to Congress, I'll push that with all my might.
All right. Now, we want people to go to your website, brown4nc.com. Now, let me ask you, sir, because it is now, of course, breaking news. The Epstein list has been released. I haven't seen who's on it. I asked Logan and some of the guys in the control room if they could find it. And apparently the website that has it listed is crashed, so they can't find it right now. There's a lot of people want to see the list, or some people don't want anyone to see the list, but somehow the site has magically crashed. Also, however, there is out reports about 2 weeks ago that some members of Congress, and I think some of them were, quote, Republicans, end quote, were out drinking at a party, found themselves waking up naked somewhere and videos being taken. I don't know if you read about that. Now there's reports of high-end prostitutes looping in politicians. You know, for so many years, we on this broadcast have said, you know, we know what the old Soviet Union and the KGB were up to, and honey pots and trapping politicians and flipping them and using them. And we have said on this broadcast for so many years that we have to believe that many in the halls of Congress are controlled, and many Republicans are, because particularly when they go there and they talk so well when they run, and they seem so committed, and they seem like they truly are believing what they're saying. And then they get there, and in a matter of months, they flipped, and you're like, wait a minute, this guy couldn't have been lying. His body language, his words, who he chose to surround himself with, he seemed to be legit. What has happened? And we have only speculated for years that many of them get there and find themselves compromised sexually or financially or whatever it may be. Now there's the flood of articles and reports that this is indeed what is happening. I think Congressman, what was the name of the congressman, I think from your state of North Carolina? What was his name, Logan? In the wheelchair. Matt?
Oh yeah. Madison Cawthorn, you're thinking about.
Madison Cawthorn. He tried saying a year or two ago, hey, look, there's a lot of funny business going on up here, and got roundly talked down. Sounds like it wasn't funny business, a lie. It sounded like it was really funny business going on. As someone going there, how do you perceive working with a party that some of these members seem to be captured one way or the other?
First off, we started by mentioning extortion 17. When I got deeply involved in investigating that case, I came to the conclusion at the end of it, there's absolutely nothing that a deep state could not do or would do that would not surprise me at all. I mean, it appears those guys were sacrificed. There is a semblance of truth, maybe, to what Madison was saying. I do believe that so many members of the Congress on both sides of the aisles have probably been compromised. I don't doubt that in the least bit. The question is, do we love our country? Do we love the Constitution? Do we love those who gave their lives at Normandy, or the 5th and 6th Marines at Iwo Jima? Do we love the sacrifice of those who've gone before us enough to speak with truth and boldness and not allow ourselves to be compromised? Are we willing to give our lives for that? Really, that's what it boils down to. We need to put an army of patriots on the floor of the United States Congress. We're going to put politicians there, or we're going to put patriots there. And there really isn't a choice between the two. So we got to put folks on Congress that aren't going to Congress with a view on, well, I'll get elected here and I'll maybe buy my time and I'll talk to my consultant, I'll run for the Senate, blah, 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 blah. We're going to save the country or we're going to lose it. President Reagan said, as you know, Brannon, that freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. My friend, we are on a precipice right now. So I don't have all the answers, but I do believe that there's power in truth and boldness. And I think we've got to go to Washington and just get in their faces. There are a few handful of patriots, I believe, on the floor of Congress right now, but we're outnumbered. And the ones who are there need reinforcements, so they need reinforcements sooner rather than later.
And let me ask you this in closing, Don. If you get elected, what committees will you ask to serve on? And will you bring your expertise and investigative work on the shoot down of the helicopter codename Extortion 17 that killed, 31 Americans, 17 Navy SEALs? Is that right?
1,000%. I'll seek truth there. I would certainly seek an appointment on the Armed Services Committee. I think I'm highly qualified for that, given my background. And one thing I'm going to do when we're talking about the National Defense Authorization Act, I'm going to fight against surveillance against Americans. We get that act passed, but we've been surveilling Americans illegally now for X number of years. There's a Fourth Amendment, and I stand for the United States Constitution, and I will fight for that with my life.
Okay, Don, I'm so glad you're running. You're in a primary. Again, when is the primary?
March 5th. And please go to brownfornc.com. I've got a couple of my colleagues running against me. They're already sort of indicated they're going to spend millions of their own money on the campaign. I don't have that kind of money. I'm kind of a country lawyer who loves the Constitution. Any help we can get, I am extremely grateful for, Brandon. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to say a few words tonight. I really do.
Absolutely. I get inundated with interview requests for guys running for Congress, and I've told some of the people that work with me, I said, I'm so bored. I'm so bored interviewing these people that run for Congress. But when I found out you were running, I'm like, are you kidding me? I will interview Don on this. Absolutely. Because you're anything but boring, Don. You've got a great career, a great bio, great passion. and I'm pulling for you, and I think many in our audience are as well. So you're welcome back here anytime. We'll be praying for your primary coming up in March, and let us know if you need to come back on between now and then.
You are a great America, my friend. I'll say hello to the Vaughns for you. Hope to see you again real soon.
Please
God
do.
bless.
You too. Happy New Year.
Yeah.
We'll be following your race. Don Brown checking in, folks, running for Congress there in North Carolina. Brown4nc.com. Brown4nc.com.